Mine was better than yours, I promise you that. My hero was the greatest fighter that ever lived. I'm telling you right now, you guys are going to be so pumped to hear this. And when I was a kid, he was still in his prime. This was back in the mid-'80s. And my hero was, like all great heroes, he was an underdog. So one summer, he had to go and compete in the some of you know him as Mr. Miyagi. Right? Miyagi was unorthodox. He was a teacher like none other. When Daniel came to him, Daniel said, "Teach me karate." And rather than just teaching him the common karate kata, he began to ask Daniel to do chores. And chores like waxing the car, wax on, wax off. You ever heard that before? Sanding the... telling you through experience mostly. And so tonight as we dig in, we're going to dig into a parable in Matthew chapter 13. As we dig into that parable, I want you to recognize that when Jesus tells a parable, it's more than just telling a story. Jesus gives us things to work through. Because when we spend the time to work through the parable, all of a sudden, that work pays off. Like it creates the lesson we need to have. So if you're with me, open up to Matthew chapter 13. I'll tell a parable of some seed. And this is the parable we're not going to focus in on tonight, but I'm going to quickly paraphrase it for you. He talks about how when we spread seed out, sometimes it falls in bad spots and it doesn't seed, but never proceed. This people's heart has grown dull, and with their ears they can barely hear, and with their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts. In turn, I would heal them. And that was a verse out of Isaiah. He was quoting Isaiah 6. Verse 16 says, "But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For truly I say to you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it." And Jesus is revealing in this moment, who he is, that he's the Messiah that has come. And so, is there a chance, when we time out real quick, can you stand up and close that line right behind you if possible? Because it is blinding me. Thank you so much. I have eyes, but I cannot see. Boom. Made it part of the sermon. All right, here we go. Now I can't see. It got really dark. What's that? I know. I can't make up my mind. Guys, just see, all right? Pay attention. All right, here we go. All right. So he looks at the disciples and he says, "Truly I say to you that many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see." And he's basically pointing to the fact that from days of old, there's been this prophecy that a rescuer would come into the world and he would save his people. And he said, many have longed for it, and you guys, you are the ones I've chosen. And I've chosen you because you're actually seeing. You're actually opening your eyes and paying attention. You're hearing with your ears. Your hearts are humble. You're ready to learn. And they're the ones privileged to get to hear it. I was thinking through this analogy as we're going through this parable, is that oftentimes what we find in life are different kinds of people in different kinds of situations. Take a car wreck, for example. When you have a car wreck, you have a person that sees the car wreck, and their immediate instinct is to get out of their car and run to see what they need. Then the weeds appeared also. And the servants of the master's house came and said to him, "Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How is it that we have weeds?" And he said to them, "An enemy has done this." So servants said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather them? He said, "No. Lest you gather the weeds, you will root up the wheat along with it. Let both of them grow together until the harvest. And at the harvest time, I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first, bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn." From here, Jesus tells another parable. And then we read this from Matthew. He says in verse 34, "All these things Jesus said to the crowd in parables. Indeed, he said nothing to them without a parable. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world." Excuse me. So then we get to the part that I love. And all causes of sin and all lawbreakers and In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their fathers. He who has ears, let him hear. Jesus clearly explains the parable. Verse 36. Excuse me. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong place. So my first question for you here is, are you willing to follow Jesus even when you don't understand what he's saying? That is going to be a big part of our faith in Christ. Because there are times that God asks us of things, asks us to do things, and we're like, what? Do what? I can't do that. Sometimes he speaks in ways, do you listen to a sermon or do you read the Bible on behalf of someone else? I'm guilty, guys. I gotta be honest with you. I do it all the time. I think, oh man, I know somebody's going to read this. And we twist it to fit our narrative. And that's what the Pharisees were doing. They didn't believe at all that this could be the Messiah. They weren't listening to what he had to say. They were steeped in their pride. When we come together and we hear the parables and we hear the stories that Jesus teaches, are we steeped in our pride? Are we looking at the Word on behalf of somebody else, or are we looking at it so that our hearts can be regenerated, our hearts can be shaped and changed into the likeness of Christ? And now, as we ask ourselves those questions, I want to ask you the last question. And the last question is this: do you trust Jesus? Often we think of the gospel as the thing that we hear and present to other people as a way to come and become a Christian. And that is true. The gospel changes people's hearts. But as Christians, because I know many of you sitting here are followers of Jesus, do you read the Gospels to have your hearts continue to be shaped and changed? Are you hanging on to all of his words? Are you the people in the crowd that are sitting there like expectant, waiting? They're like, what's he going to say next? What's he going to say next? Are you sitting there like the other crowd going, what's he going to do next? What's he going to do next? Or are you the guy sitting back in the back going, yeah, show us something, mocking him? I've been in all three of those positions, guys. There are times where I go through all three in a week. Our hearts have got to be humble before Jesus. We've got to recognize that he is the King. And most importantly, because he makes us a promise in this parable that there's a judgment that is to come. I used to always think about this. Help. I don't know. I know there's someone out here tonight that thinks it. I don't know where to open the Bible at. Man, I'll help you. Start in the book of John. Jump over to Philippians. There's all these, what he's struggling with. There's books that can help you with your struggles and can help you see that Jesus is the answer, not just trying harder. That's what the Word is about. We come together, we are the church, because we believe that Jesus is more.
Through the eyes of men, it seems there's so much we have lost. As we look down the road where all the prodigals have walked, and one by one, up out of the ashes, let us see it all rise. We call out to dry bones from alive. So breathe, oh breath of God, now breathe, oh breath of God. Breathe, oh breath of God, now breathe.
because you know everybody in here. We're a small community, and now's the perfect time to experiment, right? Not like in a weird way, but just bring your gifts and bring your abilities. And if that's you, we're very accessible. We're always around. We'll be up here after service. We're always here during the week. I live here, so just run into me and let's have a chit chat. Otherwise, I want to invite y'all out next Sunday for a Reformation Day fellowship and worship. I'm really looking forward to it because a lot of people